To hit a moving aircraft, where should you aim? Not where it is now, not even where it was a moment ago. You need an estimate of where it will be when your action arrives. During the Second World War, this problem drew Norbert Wiener, a mathematician at MIT, toward a new way of thinking about prediction, error, and control. His calculations used earlier positions to estimate a bomber's future path. The machines then available could not carry out all of those calculations in real time, but the problem stayed with him. How does a system act in a changing world when the world will not wait for a final answer? It is tempting to say that Wiener invented feedback. He did not. Sailors had long used steering mechanisms. Engineers had long built governors that adjusted steam engines when their speed drifted. A thermostat senses a temperature, compares it to a set point, and switches a furnace on or off. These are feedback arrangements. An action changes a condition, the changed condition is measured, and the next action responds. What Wiener helped do was gather such ideas into a much broader vocabulary of control and communication. In 1948, Wiener published Cybernetics, or Control and Communication in the Animal and the Machine. The title reached from the Greek word for a steersman, the person who guides a ship through changing water. Wiener called the field cybernetics because steering offered a powerful image. A good helmsman does not command once and walk away. They watch, compare, correct, and act again. The book proposed that feedback and communication could be studied across biological and electromechanical systems. It was a daring interdisciplinary program, not proof that every organism, factory, family, or society follows one identical law. That distinction matters. A feedback system can regulate without learning. A thermostat can keep a room near a chosen temperature, yet it has no theory of winter and no memory of childhood. Learning systems are different again. They alter parameters from data according to a specified training procedure. Modern neural networks use several mathematical techniques, including gradient-based optimization and, in many cases, backpropagation. Those methods belong to a later history. Cybernetics helped make adaptation and correction central questions. It did not hand us a finished recipe for today's machine learning. Wiener's ambition was nonetheless radical. He asked whether communication and control might offer a common language for animals and machines. A body maintains balance by sensing a disturbance and adjusting movement. A servo mechanism corrects a position by comparing it with a target. The comparison can be illuminating, but analogy is not identity. A person is not merely a thermostat with memories, and a machine is not a person because it changes course. Cybernetics opened a conversation across fields. It did not settle what intelligence, agency, or consciousness are. This is where the politics of feedback begins. Every feedback loop has a reference point. It has something it treats as an error. It has sensors, thresholds, and an authority that decides when to intervene. Keeping a ship on course may be straightforward, but keeping a school, hospital, workplace, or city on course immediately raises another question. Whose course? A system can be stable and still be unfair. It can efficiently meet a target that should have been questioned. The loop never eliminates judgment. It relocates judgment into goals, measurements, categories, and rules. Wiener understood this danger. In his writing on cybernetics and society, he worried that automation might displace work, concentrate power, and turn people into passive components of systems they no longer understood. He was not predicting smartphones, recommender feeds, or large language models. His warning was more general and perhaps more durable. A technology should not be judged only by what it can do. It should be judged by the human purposes it serves, the people who bear its costs, and the institutions able to challenge its failures. Cybernetics spread quickly after the war because it gave engineers, biologists, psychologists, designers, and managers a portable vocabulary. Inputs, outputs, signals, noise, feedback, control. In laboratories and conference rooms, these words traveled across disciplines. They shaped work in control engineering, communications, computing, neuroscience, and systems theory. Some researchers saw an invitation to build adaptive machines. Others saw a caution. Once a system can act on its own measurements, a mistake in the measurement or the goal can also be repeated at speed. The bridge from cybernetic theory to modern technical infrastructure was not a single leap. It was built through many overlapping histories: servo controls, radar, communications engineering, analog and digital computing, electronics, transistors, software, and networks. Cybernetics belongs to that crowded landscape. It offered concepts that traveled between fields. It did not cause the internet, create every form of automation, or become identical with artificial intelligence. A careful history is less dramatic than a straight line, but it explains more. That careful history also protects our moral language. Punch card tabulators were used by the Nazi regime for census tabulation. This documented fact matters, but it should not be turned into a shortcut that makes every information system the same, or into a claim that Wiener's cybernetics caused the machinery of genocide. Technologies enter institutions with particular laws, ideologies, incentives, and human decisions. The ethical task is not to erase those differences. It is to examine them closely enough to identify where power, classification, and responsibility actually operate. Today, feedback loops appear in far more places than Wiener's wartime study. A traffic system adjusts signals. A medical device monitors a condition. A platform ranks material in response to prior activity. A warehouse changes routes when stock changes. These systems differ in stakes, evidence, and authority. The word feedback does not absolve us from asking how a loop was designed. What counts as success? What information is ignored? Who is harmed by a false positive, a false negative, or a target chosen by someone else? The most important figure in cybernetics is not the machine. It is the observer. Someone decides what to measure. Someone decides when the measurement is good enough. Someone decides whether a system should adjust itself at all. When those choices are hidden, feedback can look natural, as though the loop simply discovered what was best. But a control system always embodies a purpose. That purpose can be debated, audited, revised, or refused. In a democracy, the right to question the loop is part of the right to shape the world it governs. Wiener's lasting lesson is not that machines will become human or that people will become machines. It is that action and response form patterns, and that patterns can be designed. The question is whether they remain open to correction by the people whose lives they touch. A feedback loop can keep a ship on course. It can also trap an institution in the course it never bothered to question. To steer well, we need more than a mechanism for correction. We need public reasons for the destination.